Welcome to the Top 200 podcast with your host, Herschel Fawn.
Hope you guys like that. That's my new intro. Shout out to my cousin Georgie Boy, aka George Gavitt. Big Shaq, aka Vay. I don't know how many names he's got, but he's a man at producing beats, and he did this one for me, and I thought, yeah, that's pretty cool. It's tight. I'll use that. And so, shout out to him. Thank you for that, my bro. Also, welcome to the first Monday morning meeting. And sorry if you see my eyes like red. I just get emotional on my right side when it's Mother's Day. And so, yeah, it's just bothering me a lot. And gets annoying. And I have to take out my contacts and stuff like that. So, yeah. But it's cool to be back, man. It really is. It's cool to come back, and it's cool that we have First 15 Rugby going on. I know that I made one like 2 months ago, about a month or two ago, and then I got busy because I got this other project going on, which I probably tell you guys anyway, that me and a few other guys, some sports players and that, are trying to start a podcast network. And I already got some shows on the podcast network, like Junior Farr, the boxer Junior Farr, real good dude, real nice guy. He's got a one called Blue Spectrum that we're trying to produce and put out to everybody, and he's got an autistic son, and then it's going to be him and his wife, Tyler, going to just talk about stuff that they go through in their everyday life with their son, and raising a son who is on the spectrum and who has autism. And so we're doing that for him. We also got Joey Damon doing Shit Talk. Comedian Joey Damon, he's going to do his. Also, ex-league player Louis Anderson as well, who used to play for the Kiwis and for the Warriors and for Wellington and for Catlin Dragons as well. And then he's going to be doing one as well. And then he's going to be doing, he's actually going to be doing two, one in English and one in French as well. Because his French is pretty good. From what he tells me, it's conversational French, so that's good enough. And so he's going to be doing his. And then we got one by one of my mates, Jackson Greeny, who does Just for Kicks, and then he's going to be doing some custom kicks and talking about shoes and all that kind of stuff as well. And then we got a few other people that I don't really want to mention yet until we really tie it up and make sure that they're going to be on board, and then we're going to put their one out as well. So I've been busy juggling that, as well as doing Top 200 as well, getting ready for the season. And so it's going to be pretty cool. Hopefully we get it off the ground and get it going and running, so that we'll have more Kiwi voices talking about New Zealand stuff from actual Kiwis, and not from other people around the world talking about New Zealand. So that's my goal anyway, with that side of things. And so I had to take a little bit of time off and devote it to that side, as well as doing Top 200 with all of you guys starting off with the season. So that's where I was for the last couple of months, as well as doing this. But I'm so glad that we've got this going right now. I've already been to a bunch of preseason games already. I think I've been to at least 15 games already. Maybe something like that. 15 games. I've seen 15 games already, and we haven't actually really started the season. But I love it though. Like, you know, this is what I want to do. I went to the Kia 2 camp here that they hold at St. Paul's, and this is like one of the camps that I think everyone should go to. Like, everyone should hit up Tama, who's the one that he organizes it all at St. Paul's. Hit him up and try and get here, because you're able to for one, you're able to get really good teams around you. They had St. Paul's was there. Sacred Heart came. Mags was there this year, as well as Napier boys and Westlake boys as well. And being able to get quality teams like that to come train together, see each other, be around guys that have the same kind of, I guess, ideas as you and goals as you to become the best rugby team that you can, preparing for the season. And also, I think it's a great thing to sort of stay in New Zealand. I kind of thought that, everyone was, obviously we were locked into our country and you couldn't really do tours. And so I kind of thought that people were going to travel more, that teams were going to travel more around New Zealand and have really good pre-seasons. I mean, I like what guys are doing now with their pre-seasons. I mean, Kings going down south was really good for them. I think some teams from up here, Matamata and Morrinsville, they went down to the South Island for the first time in a while, I think. And, just being able to travel around their own country and maybe, just help out those smaller areas and whatever. But I thought that was going to happen more, that everyone, would probably do a big preseason trip. But I guess it didn't happen as much as I thought it would. But yeah, I think preseasons is one of those things that you kind of, I think it's one of those things that you kind of take for granted. I think the way that you prepare for your season is by preparing a solid preseason workout with teams that are better than you. And I think it's okay to go out and get smashed by teams that are better than you. To be able to get your team to be pushed and pressured and thrown off your game and being physically dominated by another team that you're not really quite used to. Like if you're used to playing in school against schools that don't have a lot of island boys, to me I'd be like, wow, you might want to go and test yourself with a bunch of island boys and play a different way and play a different style that you're not really used to, so that when it comes up to it, or you come to those sides where you want to be physically dominating, you know how it's supposed to go and you know how it's supposed to feel and you know how it's supposed to look because it got done to you. And I guess if you're an island team and you're just used to that smash and bash, I think you should play against some teams that make you run around the field quite a lot. Where the breakdowns aren't as physical, they're more quick and they're more flowy and they're more, they throw more angles of runners and things like that. And, just some different stuff that you're not really used to, because I think at times we sit in our areas, wherever we live, we sit in our areas and we get comfortable with the way that you play, right? And so, like, to me, it's just like, well, if that's all you can do in a large scale of things, it's not going to help you out when it gets to nationals. Like, if nationals is a goal for you and you're a big time team, if you're only going to play one style in one way, you're going to come up against a team in nationals, at the top 4 nationals, whether you're co-ed or whether you're national, just a boys. Like, you're just going to find a team that's just going to play the other way and just really run you off the field, either smash you up and smash you and smoke you through like every rucks and mauls and tackle, or they're just going to kick you around and make you run all day and not know how to, I guess, drop back and reset and reload and be able to have all these quicker pods and rucks and, all that kind of stuff that comes along with it. So I think you should, in your preseason, throw in some variety of stuff that will really test your boys and really, I guess, and really get to know the boys that are going to be able to handle that kind of stuff and the ones that aren't, because then those are the ones that you're going to start wanting to rely on once, the tough games come into it. like a few teams that I like. Tangaroa College is one that I like, that played some really good teams, some different teams from their own, and I think as a team they benefited from it. Whanganui Collegiate also did a really good job in getting games like Hastings boys and New Plymouth boys as well, and Palmy to be, and they played pretty much in the Super 8, but they were a mixture of teams and styles of games. I like that Wellington College came up and started playing in some different kind of styled games as well, and then now they're into their grading games too, and they're looking really good. Like from what I saw, the footage that I got, Wellington's looking really good, and I think you know that if you've been following this for a while, right? You know that I've been pretty hard on Wellington College, only because I saw Wellington College when I was at school, different from the Wellington College that I'm used to. And so it's hard for me to see Wellington College struggle over the last few years or so. I mean, when they started, they had Nelson Sofa Solomona, they had Wes Goosen was there. They had those two guys. They also had, who's the other one? Petello, I think, was the other one that was there as well in the midfield. They had a really good solid front row. Then it went on to the next, and then like maybe after 2 years, 2013, 14, 15. And then 16 onwards, they started to fall off and struggle. Even when Naito was there, he saved them a lot. I think he saved them a lot. And I guess the quality of their top players wasn't really quite there all the time, as you're kind of used to them in the past. So seeing the team that I saw against Napier boys, and then them playing Hibs, to me, I think they've done it right, and I think they've got a team this year. I actually think that they've got a team this year, and a team that's going to be strong and physical in the forward pack. I think they're going to be really. They're going to be a direct team. I like their loose trio. I like that they have really strong locks, tall locks. They've got tall players as well. Even their loose trio was tall in terms of being able to have those options. The front row is looking better from what I saw. From Napier to what I saw, and they're like, I don't mind teams struggling in different areas, trying to figure things out. That's fine. That's what you're supposed to do. Like, they may not have looked strong in the front row against Napier, but then when I saw them against Hibs, and they've had some games under themselves a little bit and kind of figured it out, I think that they look really sharp now. Then you got their 9 and 10 with Sopawanga and Stanley, and then I think Ponga's on the on at second 5, and so that midfield is real strong. Then they got the wings, and so I think that they've got a pretty good team with a bench that can. I think they have a bench that can hold for a good 10 minutes, which is quite a long time, especially in hard games, and that's what you want a really good bench for, is that you want them for those hard games that you're supposed to finish strong. And I think that Wellington has a team that can finish strong from their bench as well, and so I'm pretty keen to see what they can do. And so all that kind of stuff is coming out this year in terms of because I was thinking about this before. I was thinking about the teams that I thought when I was doing the rankings, who was going to be a team that's sort of going to come out of nowhere. Wellington was one of those teams. I thought And because like sometimes when I do the rankings, right, and like this is for everyone that's new, and there's going to be a bunch of new people that is new to this and the way the rankings work. In terms of the teams, I kind of look at what you did last year, and then I look at the players that are returning. I don't care what your record is last year, like you saying, well, we beat them last year. It's like, well, this year's different because a bunch of those guys are gone, and the other team has a bunch of players gone too. So I don't care what your score was against them last year. Unless that complete team's coming back and your complete team's coming back, then I can understand. But if they're going to be different, then I don't really, I don't care. All right, because your team may only return 7 players and then their team may return 15. That I care about. Like those returning numbers is what I care about. And so for the team ones, when I look at rankings, I look at players, I look at how good a team did, and then I look at how many players are actually returning back. The returning back players are the ones that are the ones that are important. So if you've got a bunch of guys returning back and you had a pretty good season last year, it would pretty much tell you, well, if most of those guys are coming back, you don't have to do that much changes to the roster. That means you don't have to change the game plan so much, and you don't have to explain what the game plan is so much, because you just look at your guys who were there from last year and go, hey, take care of those new fellas that are there, fill them in and how we run our game, and this is, you guys be leaders and go leadership over there. You guys in the backs, go be leaders over here, fill them in what you're supposed to do, be leaders over there. You who are on the wings, you can now step into maybe the midfield, maybe fullback. You can work things out with those guys and tell them how it goes. Fine. That's the beauty of having so many guys returning back to your squad. Then you look at kind of the guys that were like, well, if those are the guys that were turning back, out of the 9 players that were there, 4 of those guys were really important last year, and they're back again for the year 13. This is how important those guys are going to be and how better this team is going to be. So that's how I kind of grade teams at the start of the season. Don't be so deflated, and if you go, well, Hirsch only thinks that we're, 60-something or 50-something or, whatever. That's why it's important to know that these change every single week. So it doesn't mean you're going to stay 60th throughout the whole year. Once you start winning games and proving that you can beat all these other teams that are in front of you with great scores and great results, then you start moving up the ranks. Okay, so that's kind of how this goes. This is kind of how you navigate your way through this this ranking system. Obviously, the stronger competition that you're in, like the 1A and the Super 8, and then the CNI, which is another good one, the North Harbour one, which is getting pretty good, and the one down south, which is not the UC Championship anymore, but Miles Toyota, I think it is. Sorry guys if I'm getting it wrong. It's just a new sponsor, so new competition, but I'll get used to it. And so like those competitions are good. And now we've got the Otago competition that have a really strong 3 teams with Kings, Otago and Southland boys. But you also got Wakatupu there. You also got Waikataki boys, St. Kevin's. All these teams can be good. Mount Aspiring can be good. All these teams like that. Mount Aspiring is a team that I'm kind of watching out for this year, because I know that they got a bunch of year 12s and a bunch of year 12s this year, and a bunch of guys that were back from last year. They're like returning 14 players or so, and so in that competition they should do pretty strong. I'm not saying they're going to beat Otago boys or Kings, but I think that they're going to be a good 55-minute team against those teams, which is important, which is a great thing for those kind of teams, because they don't necessarily beat the Otago boys and Southland boys, stuff like that, but they can be a bit of a thorn in their side. John McGlashan, after a year that they had last year, which wasn't so great with a bunch of injuries that they had, they never really got into a rhythm of I guess a complete roster all the time, which matters. It does matter. When you have too many injuries like that, and it sucks when you just go interchanging guys all the time, but I think that they should have a better year this year. Actually, I'm quite confident that they're going to have a better year this year. And obviously they've got a great coach, as an Aaron Major who's down there, and obviously he's going to go, but then actually getting the boys to respond and to, I guess, pick themselves up from what happened last year, and just getting them to really get into it and maybe win some games, a string of games before it leads up to that. And so, yeah, there will be a good game against, I think, for just John McGlashan alone, Mount Aspiring will be a good one for them. Their battle that they've been having back and forth over the last few years now with King's High School has been pretty cool, and that's going to be a good one. Even though I think King's High School should beat them, I think that John McGlashan is going to maybe push them. Dunstan High School is going to be a good one for them. And I don't know with Dunstan High School, because I really like them as a squad, but sometimes you don't know if with those bigger teams, or like when they come against John McGlashan, they could either push them really close or get blown out. And it's kind of like not really in those in-between ones. And so I don't know what to expect from Dunstan this year, but there'll be another cool team that I'll be looking out for that you don't really like focus on much, throughout the year. Which is, I guess, is understandable. Everyone wants to go for these, all the bigger teams and stuff like that. But, now that we're back to the start of the season, and Saturday was the first start of grading games. Also, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to apologize. I don't know what's going on with my website. They told me what the problem is. I don't fully understand what it is, but it's like two programs that are not connecting, that both run as plugins onto my website, and they're just not connecting and they're not communicating with each other, so something's going wrong. I don't really know how that works. That's just what they explained to me. And I'm sorry to everybody out there that is having trouble getting into it. And I hope they fix it fast. I got to be honest, and I don't know how they're going to fix it, and I don't know when it can be fixed, but from the handover from the last IT people that I had to these IT people, it just hasn't been completed, so they're trying to figure out how to work this. So please be as patient as possible, and when we'll get it fixed, and I'll make a big announcement and make sure everybody knows that it's done. Okay, so I'm just so sorry to everybody else that's been trying to jump on, and where your login works today, and then it doesn't work for a week and a half, and then it works again for another 3 days, and it doesn't work for things like that. It must be frustrating. It must be frustrating. I'm so sorry to everybody that is going through that problem, and I'm hoping that they fix it. And I wish I could understand that a bit better so I can explain it properly. Actually, I wish that I could just do it myself, so I could just do it myself and fix it myself. But I just don't have the brains for that, really, to be honest. So let's get to these games, right? There is going to be some changes. I will try and put the rankings, the new ones, right here. And hopefully if I point to this side, it's going to be there or across the bottom. I'll try it. I don't know. I've never done this before in terms of editing, but I'll try it out. And I'll try and put it on the screen right now so that everyone can see it. And I'll do the top 25 now. And then I will try and do the top 50 as I'm talking on. And that will be the first changes in the rankings. And then the top 100 rankings will come out next week. So it'll be 50 one week. The next week will be 100. All of them changing. 50 the next week. Do it like that, okay? And then with the rankings with the top 200 and the top 100 year 12s, they're going to be done on the same week. Then the next week will be the year 11s. And the reason why we do that is because some of year 12s, when you change it around, it changes in the top 200 as well, because the year 12s are just heavy in the top 200 this year. And I got to be honest, it really is not a surprise, to be honest. Some of the year 12s this year are really, really good. And they're going to be pushing for some positions in that New Zealand secondary schools and New Zealand barbarians this year. And so I think that some of your year 13s are really going to have to bring your best game throughout this whole year. Make sure you make those rep teams, and make sure you, I guess, make a firm statement of why you should be in these under 18 teams for these regional ones, and so that will be really good too. So let's get to some of the games. I went to Hamilton Boys and St. Paul's Collegiate, and this was one of the two. Actually, this was the only. Yeah, that's right. I'm just looking at here. This is the only top 10 matchup that was here. Was Hamilton Boys at number 2 and St. Paul's Collegiate at number 6. And the reason why St. Paul's is at number 6 is because they've beaten some really good teams in the preseason, including Palmy Boys. And so them being ranked that high with a massive forward pack led by Malachi Rappling and also Lincoln Winter and also Nia Church. We should probably mention him too, because that loose trio is really, really good. And Malachi was a hard one for Hamilton Boys to stop. And every time he carried the ball, actually everything he did, even his hits, like he hit a few guys and really, really punished them. I think he really punished them. And the more that he continues to do this throughout the year, he's going to make a massive statement for why he should be in that New Zealand Secondary Schools and Barbarians. Actually, the New Zealand Secondary Schools. I know Malachi, and as a player, I don't think he's aiming for one of those rep honors. I know that he's just aiming for New Zealand Secondary Schools. I know that 100%, because he's just not. I just don't think he's that kind of player that would just work that hard to settle just for New Zealand Barbarians in his mind. And then he's going to have guys like Bella Malacia is probably one of them from Napier Boys, because Cooper Flanders, I think, is going to be an open side. He'll be another one that he'll probably have to, and then that would depend on Gage. Even AJ Malili Lawano, I guess, is the other one. From Fielding, he's another one that would probably put his hand up for those rep honors, guys like that. And so I know Malachi's going to be making that push, and he really showed it yesterday. I tried to get as much clips as I can so everyone could see it, but so they did well. I thought Anadu played really good. Pioneer Morgan from St. Paul's Collegiate at second five, and I really liked it when he was running that ball, and then him and his name's escaping me from the first five, Jaden, bro. Those two worked really well in that first and second five, and being able to I guess put Hamilton Boys in a different mind of how they were going to play that, because they knew how good Jaden was with his footwork, and his passing ability was really, really good. And then they knew that Broomfield and centre was there too, the captain. So just having those options, I thought that Jaden and Anadu played that right. And then having someone like Malachi who was smashing it through these forwards. And it took, like, if you were following the game through my IG and my Facebook page, you could tell that the score wasn't like just blowing up. All that blowing up stuff happened right at the end. But for Hamilton Boys on the other side, obviously Taha was a massive headache for them. I kind of liked it how him and Marley Murphy, who's at halfback now, who is not the same as the other halfbacks that they've had at Hamilton Boys, but Marley did do his job. Marley did exactly what he was supposed to do, and really did quicken up that pace. And he got sent off for some reason. I actually don't know what it is, and I was recording at the time when he got sent off, and he was walking towards me because I was standing sort of near to the Hamilton Boys, and they even asked him what it was, and he goes, I'm not too sure. I can't remember what he said it was. And he goes, I don't know, it was our ball. And he Hamilton Boys had the ball and he got yellow carded while they had the ball, which is, I don't know how that works, but that's what happened anyway. And so Hamilton Boys had 2 yellow cards. The other one was Marley, and then the other one was Taylor Cahill from who's moved up from Christchurch from Shirley Boys up to Hamilton Boys, and he looked so dangerous. He looked so good in that system that they were running. He got a lot of ball, made a lot of tackles. He made some heavy hits. And when he got sent off, I think his one was just more about, just really pushing that line a little bit, and then he just pushed it a little too much. And yeah, I mean, you kind of agree and disagree with it at the same time. It's just one of those calls, and I think it's one of those things that players get to learn as they play the game, where you can push the line, and I guess depending on who the ref is the other thing. And I guess that's the coach's that's just coach's job to sort of inform the boys. It's like, oh, we got this guy. This guy doesn't like it when we do this, or this guy doesn't like this kind of stuff. And it was funny too, because I remember when we were at school, and we had this Mormon guy who was a ref as well, and he used to yell at us and tell us to shut up, and he was Mormon too. I was like, is there no favoritism in this? At least a little bit. He's like, hey, shut up and get back. I was like, oh, okay. All right, brother. So that's kind of how it was. And so the coaches they're really there for that kind of knowledge, and so as players you'll get used to that kind of stuff too. But this game was heavy Hamilton Boys in the last 10 minutes, and St. Paul's just couldn't keep up with that too fast. Sean Ralph went off early with a head knock, which he should have, and I'm glad they didn't put him back on. Their open side, Ollie, I can't remember what his last name was. He was sharp. I really liked him, but Marley, Gabe also played really good, as he would. That loose trio looked pretty good. Sort of a standard Hamilton Boys loose trio, except for the open side, who was so fast and so quick. And he even burnt off the wingers down the sideline as well, which was pretty cool to watch an open side do something like that. Austin Anderson played really good at second five, and obviously, what's his name? Peyton Spencer at fullback. Now, everyone was asking me how come I didn't have him in the rankings. The reason why I didn't have him in the rankings is because I didn't see him last year. He was playing seconds, and because he's a really good cricketer as well, and the talk is around it that he doesn't know what he wants to play. So you didn't really see him. I knew he was good last year, and I saw him in some second 15 games, and he didn't play much for the first, which rightfully so he probably shouldn't have, because they did have enough players, and sometimes you just don't want to push that kind of stuff with younger players. And now that he's there at fullback, he's killing it. But obviously he's going to be in the rankings. I just wanted to kind of see it for myself. So it's going to be pretty cool to see them go up against Mags this week, here in Hamilton, which I'm going to go and see again this week. And then it's going to be I don't know how to say this, because I don't want to be disrespectful to Mags, but they really got to find here's the reality side of it, right? The reality side of it is that if they haven't put into extra training into what they did after coming here to camp at the St. Paul's, if they haven't put in the extra stuff after that, it's not going to be a good score against Hamilton Boys. Okay, it's not going to be a good score against them. And I hope they come down with that same attitude of first respect for who they're playing. Just respect who they're playing. Then get on the field and try and rip them up. also that they're sold on the game plan that they're playing, and that they trust each other as a team. That they're all going to put it together. Look at their leaders that they have in the team, and hopefully they can get a result. I don't think that they're going to win, but I don't think Mags needs to win. I think Mags needs to put out a strong effort and really, they need to do exactly what St. Paul's did and push Hamilton boys to win push them to win the game. That's what I'm trying to say. They need to push Hamilton boys to win the game, because Mags is not going to win this game. And I know everyone's saying to me as well, how do you know? How do you know? Because I've watched them. I've watched them both, and I've watched them both for years. Remember, I watched these kids from when they were in under 15s, and I kind of know what they're like as they go through the years. Now, Hamilton boys is just what Hamilton boys is. You're always going to get a Hamilton boys that well versed in what they need to do. Everyone knows the game plan. Everybody puts 110% in it. They're always fit, and they have specialist players in positions. They always have specialist players in positions. I watched Hamilton boys younger second 15 team beat Botany Downs first 15, and Botany Downs just monstered them. And Botany Downs had Xavier. Sorry, Xavier. His last name's slipping me. They had Xavier at blindside, who was really pretty much smashing every player that he came into. One of the props was really massive and mean, and the number 8 as well was the other guy that I really liked in that forward pack. But then other than that, the Hamilton young boys of year 11s and year 12s dominated set pieces right throughout the whole game, and were only pressured right towards the end when Botany Downs was really coming through. And that's kind of what you get from a Hamilton boys team, whether you're playing the under 14 Bs or the under 15s or the under 16 Cs or whatever, or under 16 black or red or whatever they want to be called. You're always going to get the same attitude that they bring, which is they want to win. And everybody knows their role in the team. You either perform or you get dropped, kind of what the attitude is. And that's what Hamilton parents and parents that send their kids to Hamilton boys know, is just like, that's just the attitude. And they just want to win. Doesn't matter what sport it is, doesn't matter what academics it is, they want to win. And Mags needs to come down sort of with that same attitude, like, we're not going to let you guys run over us like this. Or they could just come down and not do the work, and then they're just going to get run over. But Mags is my dad's alma mater, and I have like a soft spot for Mags and who they are. So I hope they come down and really challenge the number 2 team in the country. And they're going to need to, because they got the number 1 team in the country in their competition in Cowston boys, and so they're going to have to do something. They have to find that hard game somewhere, and Hamilton boys is where they're going to test themselves. So that was a good game. That Nelson and St. Andrews game was pretty cool, to be honest, and they did have their STAC had their chances and kind of let them slip away, even when that momentum changed. And it was cool how the momentum was, where it was 15 minutes of just strong Nelson College forward pack and backs just working together, and then it just switched just like that, and then STAC came back and just started hitting them, and Torian did what Torian does, and STAC really did put the pressure on them, and then it started going back and forth a little bit more, and it just became a really interesting game from there. And Nelson being ranked number 4 in the country is not wavering. Like, I still think that they are, because I still think that they have the team, and I think they have a more of a complete team, and sort of all the positions are not stacked, but they're with players that are a couple of levels over what the average player is, and they've got really, really good players in their team. And so I have like a lot of confidence in them that they're probably at this point most likely to come out of the South Island for the top 4. And so that's going to be an interesting one to watch. Rotorua boys had their first Moeska Cup defence against Wellington College, which they won. St Kentigern's losing to Hastings is kind of not a kind of a surprise and not. But St Kentigern's have lost twice now in the preseason, which is a good thing, and because their team is built for next year. They're going to do as much as they can this year, and I still think they can make that top four for Auckland, but they do need the hard games. They do need the young guys tested because they have a few year 11s. They have a year 10, 2 year 10s, and a year 9. And the year 9 kid he looks like he's already year 12 going on year 13. And he's pretty good, and I've got to admit, just looking at him physically, you're like, he looks like a big kid, but even when he plays, he's actually pretty good for a year 9. He's really good for a year 9. And so I'm keen to see what he looks like in the next 2 years. And the coaching staff is smart enough to go, well, we are going to limit his minutes. We can't have a year 9 smashing, that many times with 18-year-old, 17, 18-year-old old guys as well, especially in the 1A. It's just like, maybe you're going to get him hurt, but he's a good player. Like I said, the coaching staff is smart enough to sort of know how to manage his minutes and all that kind of stuff. And there's got to be a rule on having year 9 kids on there, so whatever that is, I know that will be followed. But Hastings boys, from what I was told, was really controlling within the forwards and did their thing and obviously got a lot better. And Hastings boys travelled up to Auckland and played Kelston boys and held Kelston boys for a little bit, and Kelston boys kind of pulled away at the end as kind of what you wanted anyway. So that was the only real time I think Kelston has really been challenged within this off season, because other than that, they're just running amok on everybody. And Kelston and St Kentigern's play in the first round of the 1A, so that's going to be interesting. That's the game I'm going to go up to. Is going to go watch that game. Sacred Heart had a bad one against Tauranga boys, from what I heard, and the little footage that I saw. Sacred Heart got a red card in the first 20 minutes, and then they got a yellow card throughout the game as well, which obviously took them to 13, and they just had to play through that kind of stuff, and that's really hard. It's a good exercise. I guess it's a good exercise to see what your boys can do when it comes up to those situations within a game that you're going to have to play like that at some point, because some idiot boy is going to do something idiotic, and then those things happen. So it's going to, you're going to see what happens with the other boys to go, all right, we knew he was going to do something like that. He's got a red card, let's regroup and let's start sorting this out on the field. And then that's when you see your leadership take over. And the other thing, boys, bloody wear your mouth guards. You get sent off with a yellow for just not having your mouth guard in. Keep it in your mouth. Keep it in your mouth and stop doing these spear tackles. And so strange. I was thinking about this before. I was like, why do guys do spear tackles? Because you don't do 7 minutes of training, spear tackles. I thought maybe it's a selfish thing. Maybe it's a selfish thing to cheer the crowd and to look cool and all that kind of stuff. Then you do it, and then it's funny too, because you see that moment when they have them lifted in the air like this, and they're already too late, but then they feel guilty. It's like, oh man, I'm going to get sent off for this. Try and change it, and then they're already, ref's already got his hand up in the air blowing the whistle and that kind of stuff, going, oh yeah, no, mate, you're gone, go chill out for 10 minutes. And so, it's just one of those things I was thinking, man, maybe this is like a selfish thing. Maybe it's just I just want to look like I'm tough, and then all your, I guess, teammate pride goes out the window and be like, I don't care about this team. I'm just going to look cool at this moment when I dump this dude on his head. Halfway through it, you're like, oh, holy crap, I better not do this, and then it's too late. But I'm not saying that's what happened to Sacred Heart, but I'm just saying that things like that, this is just what happens. So the other thing is keep your mouth guards in. Stop getting sent off with a yellow card for not having a mouth guard in. Must be so annoying and so stressful when a coach sees a yellow card being pulled and he's going, why is he getting a yellow card? And then someone has to go, he didn't have his mouth guarded. And you know the coach is going, I knew it was going to be that kid. Because you know that they're doing that. And all you kids stop it. Just leave it in your mouth. Mold it so well that it's not so uncomfortable in your mouth that you just have to take it out at every chance. And I understand how that feels when you've molded one that doesn't feel right and you just have to keep taking it out because it sucks, that kind of stuff. So do the thing right, and then it'll be all good. Let's move on. So let's get through this because, everyone knows that when they're on this, I can talk for ages about all these guys and these teams and all that kind of stuff. So disappointing. It really was disappointing. And it was disappointing because Scots, and I think everyone watching the game from last week of St. Kentigern's to watching the game this week against King's College, we knew that the team that turned up to St. Kentigern's was not the same team that turned up to King's, and it was kind of disappointing because you knew the players that were playing on that against King's played a whole lot better than they did against when they were playing against St. Kentigern's, and they just couldn't turn up for that second week in a row. Now, that's where the argument for me comes into it when I start talking about the strength of schedule and the strength of competition that you're in. The Super 8, you can't rest on any teams. People may think Gisborne is the resting team, but it's not. And you're going to find out when you try and play them, and then you don't want to bring your best game, and then you get done by 20 points. And then Gisborne's like laughing. He's like, you guys come out here and play especially if they go out to Gisborne, you don't want to go all that way to come back with a loss and driving back all that way with a loss when you know you probably should have went down one. You just can't have those rests in the Super 8. You can't have those rests in the 1A really, is because most of your teams, even if they're not as good, they're going to be physical as well, and you're going to get beat up. And the more you get beat up and beat down, that game could go from a 30-point hiding to a really fighting out to win this game. So that's the problem with it. Now, when you look at these other competitions, that's going to be, I guess, the problem. Is that when you play in the Wellington competition, right, and then you play in one like, you can't really say the North Harbour one because all of that is pretty even in a way. You can't really say that. I mean, I guess you can by like the last couple of teams in the comp, but from Westlake, Rosemary, Massey, Whangarei Boys, Takapuna Grammar School to Rangitoto, even Orewa, they're all kind of even, and so you can't really rest in that one either because you're all kind of in that bracket of being the same talent wise, and then turning up on a bad day is just like, well, you're going to get a loss now, and having Manurewa out there too is like Manurewa is another one high school that you got guys like Daniel and Lenz and Regan out there and guys like that who could just turn it up and just kill it every time they're out there and playing. So you can't really do it. But when you're playing for in the Wellington competition, is that St. Pat's Town and St. Pat's Silverstream and Scots, and then some instances when you have Wellington College and Rongotai, you can have a few rests on these other teams that are into it. And when it comes to the grading games, you still have a kind of, those kind of rests. And even if you go to the Miles Toyota Championship is going to be the same too. Is that maybe you have to travel some distance, but you know that you can have the game and sort of have a rest and not be so physically or mentally invested that much in the game where you can kind of take a rest. Now, you can do that there, but if you're going to be like Scots and you have to play someone like St. Kentigern's, King's College, not sure who they're playing next. I know they're playing Napier soon, I think it is. But they've got to have those hard games in a row just to keep that intensity level of the team, and then have everyone on the edge of every single team is going to be hard. If I was Scots College, I would not be resting, and I was just going to rack up as much points as I can and go, well, this team may not be on our level, but we're going to show everybody else that we can drop 60, 70 points on them. It sounds mean when I say it, yes. But when you're putting out a message to everybody else, because remember, right, two-time champions in the Wellington Comp, but Wellington Comp is your competition game's only the first step. You want to win that for sure, fine. But you still want a national championship that you should be going to. Now, if, let's say, Scots wins it, right? Scots wins the Wellington Comp again. Now they've got to play Palmy, or they've got to play Hastings, or they've got to play Napier. You know, one of those teams. Now, if they can't get up after that, after this hard game of, hard final of that, and then they can't get up on another game, it's just like, well, it's not going to be any better if you get to the top 4 either. Because you're gonna play some mammoth team from somewhere around the country, from the Waikato, which is most likely going to be Hamilton boys or Rotorua boys, because Rotorua boys look sharp too. Or you're going to play like Kings St. Kentigern's or Sacred Heart or someone like that. And you don't want to come up against Christchurch boys or Nelson College, not knowing if you're going to lift or not. Which is kind of like the other thing too. I mean, like, they've got Willie Lielton and Sam Rash and that, so they got rugby minds in, I guess, and they know what they're doing. But if that was me, that's what I would do. I would just send a message to everybody else and rack up 60 every week. And go, this is what we're going to do. We're going to play this running style rugby. We're going to make sure that everything is at fast pace. We're not kicking anything. We're just going to tap and run and see if you can keep up with us. And they built the team like that. That's kind of how they play. And I like it too. It makes fun for like good highlights and stuff. I saw the first half of St. Peter's Cambridge, who looked sharp. Really good forward pack. Obviously, they got Dawson there, and then they've got Cash. Dawson Smith and Cash Farmer. Dawson Smith's playing second 5, then Cash Farmer's at first 5. And then they have Cody Vi at centre as well, which makes it just for this really sharp backline, And even they've got majority, like Andrew Smith is in that playing lock with Harry Boyle, I think his name is. But like that forward pack only lost one guy, and then everybody else is back. And so, John T. Short is back too, and so they got this really solid forward pack, and then they got 3 stars in the back line who are year 13, 11, and 12, and they just run and gun, and they're just hard guys to bring down. And so they're going to be a dangerous team, and they show Tangaroa was up. And Tangaroa was not bad. I've got to admit that Tangaroa was not bad. They were just unfit. But they were so skillful. That was the other thing. And I think for most of these, Southside teams that don't really push that preseason training, and I think that's like a boys thing, and I think that's something that most of you Southside teams should probably do, like De La Salle and Old Eddie, and that is that, a group of you should all get together and go, in this off season, this is what we're looking at, aiming at doing. Everyone's dropping weight, everyone's working out in the gym. We're going to make sure that our yo-yo test is at this, or our Bronco test, or whatever test that you guys do is at this level, and that everyone sort of strive and aim for that level, right? Because these Southside teams have so much skills, so explosive, the players are so explosive, so hard hitting, but they can't keep that up for the full 70. A lot of them just can't. But it takes a bunch of you guys into your leadership and go, this is what we're going to do, and we're just going to get fit over this off season, and just really start working out, and then just pushing and testing yourselves. And like it's funny too, because people may think that what I'm saying is kind of insensitive in that, but if these schools do it, you guys are going to have a problem. If these guys base all their training around fitness, and not even like skills and stuff, just fitness, because naturally all these boys have the skills. Naturally these guys want to take off your head with every tackle. Naturally they want to smash through every single shoulder that's there. But naturally a lot of us just don't go for the fitness side of it. But once the boys make that commitment to make fitness the first priority, and not winning the battle on who did the biggest hit or the biggest run, then everybody else is going to be losing. I've always said that De La Salle brings out the best players from their own area that don't recruit or anything. They just naturally have the best players come to their school. And if they all got fit, national titles are going to be coming from that south side every year. Both the co-ed and the national championship will be coming from those areas, just if they based it all around fitness. They should actually just go to Hamilton Boys and go, hey, what's your guys' fitness program? And then give it to us. Because Hamilton Boys is always one of the fittest teams around the country every single year. That's why they win. That's why they always go to the top 4. They're always going to nationals in sevens and touch, and pretty much win both sevens and touch. And last year was not fair. I don't care what you guys say. That was not fair on Hamilton Boys, what you guys did to them. And then took that away from them as well after they just won the Condor 7 for 5 or 6 or 7 years. I don't know what it is in a row. But, it's just one of those things. But if Southside adapted that attitude of, like, let's just make fitness a priority, then we're going to go out and just kill everybody, everybody's got to watch out. So going on from there, St. Bede's was really good. I watched that game. That was cool. Auckland Grammar is still winning. They have some problems, Auckland Grammar, but once they fix that up and then everybody come in as a team, they're probably going to go really well. And their Christchurch boys look like Christchurch boys. Timaru boys I really like. If you're around Timaru boys, or Timaru boys is going to your area, go and watch them. Such a good team. Westlake did their thing against Orewa 33-8, which is pretty good. Takapuna Grammar was a school that I wasn't so sure on, and I should have just trusted myself because I would have ranked them higher. But then they proved it to me in the first round that they're actually like really legit, the way that I thought they were going to be. I think I just got a bit scared in a way of like, I don't want to overhype, knowing that they've got all these players back and they're looking really good. And then they actually went out and they did it against Rosmini 123-10, which was great. But Rosa needs to fix up some of their stuff. They really do. They just didn't look the same. Whangarei Boys won against Massey High School, which is another big one too, because those two teams are going to be really sharp. And I actually think this competition is going to be really close with all those teams. And that North Harbour competition. I think that North Harbour competition may be one of the better, most exciting, closer ones around the country as well. So that'll be a good one too, with Manurewa being ranked Toto. It looks really good. Long Bay College versus Birkenhead. That seemed like a pretty good one with Long Bay winning. Long Bay College has got a really good girls team too, and I wish I could see more girls games this year. I really like the talent that's coming from there. Whanganui Collegiate beating Hatupota 43-3 seems like what they would do. Like I said, I like what Whanganui Collegiate has done in this preseason. Rosehill is looking pretty good this year, beating Tuakau 33-14. Pukekohe beating McLean's was the first time that they've beaten them ever. And they have a traditional preseason that they have against them, and they won this year 43-10, and Pukekohe is a team that you should watch out for too. Don't sleep on those guys, and they're going to be pretty good this year. Matamata College winning against Te Aomori College 29-12, which is kind of what I thought was going to happen. I thought it might have been a bit closer, but I know Matamata has got some really sharp players in that back line, And I just got informed about a few guys that I wasn't sure was going to be there, but they're there now, so they're looking good. The Thames Valley Secondary Schools is one that I really want to keep an eye on, because I know that Pyro is looking good. Even Hauraki Plains is looking good too, and then I want to see what Whangamata Area School looks like too in that competition. In the Taranaki Bailey's first team competition, I'm kind of leaning towards Hawera, because I know the players that they have coming back. That might be a team that you want to watch. They had a bye in the first round, but Waitara blew their second 15 off the field. Francis Douglas' second 15 did pretty good too with their win. I haven't got Inglewood High School's one there, so someone send me that through. Like I said, Wellington College, if we go down to the grading games, Wellington College is really good. Aotea beating Tawa is somewhat of a surprise, sort of, not really. Mana College running Wairarapa off. Wairarapa is going to have to fix something that's going on there, because it shouldn't be that big of a score. And from the pre-seasons that I've seen, Wairarapa might be in a bit of trouble this year. Upper Hutt High School and St. Bernard's drew 22 all, so that's going to be one that I think people should keep an eye on, because I really like Upper Hutt this year. P-Town, PC, Porirua College beat Hutt Valley High School, and yeah, what I thought was going to be like that. Kapiti beating No.1 College was what I thought. Wainui and Mada losing to Bishop Viera is not what I thought. Not at all. Not even close to what I thought it was going to be. And so that's kind of troubling, just looking at those. Rongotai, St. Pat's Town and St. Pat's Silverstream, they had their little game of three halves, and so like those games I'm not gonna grade them and add them to their rankings, because that's just really unfair. You can't even play a whole game. Marlborough doing Marlborough things. They ran up the score. Christ College ran up the score as well, and Selwyn College, Selwyn Schools, or Lincoln Combined, whatever you want to call it, and then St. Thomas beating Aoraki Combined as well. And then Dunstan won as well against James Hargis down in the south, deep south. So the rankings are going to be out. They're going to be new. There's teams that are falling already. Of course, of course, I'm going to change it in the top 10 with St. Kinnigan's losing, also with Hastings winning, also with Scots losing to Kings by so much. St. Paul's I don't think will move, because Hamilton was already ahead, and that's kind of the margin. Takapuna will look to move up. So everybody that won pretty much is moving up. Most of it was just reassuring, to be honest, and just things like that. So have a look out. Again, sorry for the website. This is the Monday morning meeting, and I'm Herschel Fromm. Happy Mother's Day. Love you guys all. Peace.